Well, listening audience, we have a very, very special guest joining us now. He is an incredible saxophonist, composer, arranger, producer, and educator, having just released his third album, a collection live material titled PTSD Volume 1. And there's a Volume 2 coming, you guys. Korey spent the last year touring the world, performing with some of our favorites. And to name the few, John Legend, Seal, Freddie Jackson, Eric Roberson. I love Eric Roberson. We're going to learn more about that. And others. Korey will continue to tour the world as the saxophonist, flutist, and featured soloist with the incredible John Legend and supporting his next release, PTSD Volume 2. And to name a few, he has also performed with one of my favorite groups, The Roots, Queen Latifah, Elvis Costello, and Ty Tribbett. And he's made several TV appearances on The Late Night with Jimmy Fallon and Rachel Ray Show. And he's here with us. Without further ado, let's welcome the incredible, super talented, and prolific Korey Riker to the show. Good day and welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, it's been a pleasure to bring you on, because here on this particular show for the past 3 months, we have explored the rock and country music genre. And we recently concluded that series, and it was an incredible journey of exposure and learning. And guess what, Korey? You are our first guest of our new series of exploring and learning about the wonderful jazz music genre. You
Excellent.
are the first guest. Absolutely, absolutely. So begin to tell us, how did you come to embrace jazz?
Well, it started with just playing the saxophone. I picked up. I thought it would make my dad happy, and I was in 6th grade. I had the opportunity to sign up for beginning band, and pretty quickly, I wanted to be a part of jazz band rehearsal, which happened during the lunch break in middle school, but I wasn't allowed to join until I was in 7th grade. But then I took interest in 7th grade. I was in there, and then my grandpa was a huge fan of jazz, had tons of records, and he loved watching documentaries about different jazz musicians. And so when I took interest, he would sit me down, and we'd watch these documentaries and listen to the music together.
Wow, that is incredible. And, you know, jazz has been from its very beginnings at the turn of the 20th century, a consistent, evolving, expanding, and changing music, passing through several distinctive phases of development. So from this genre, who would you say has influenced you the most, and what? I heard your grandfather, but who else? Who else has influenced you?
Gosh, well, playing-wise, I mean, I guess, you know, the insane intimidation of looking at the Charlie Parker Omni book for the first time, trying to learn some of his solos.
Yeah.
That certainly scared me for years to come. Still does.
It was an enigma. Yeah. He had an enigma. Oh, my God.
Yeah, so, you know, someone like that you can really never replicate, really. You know, it's just he's completely original throughout his whole performance career. And so it's very inspiring. And of course, Coltrane. And then I got into more modern music toward later in high school. I guess I got into jazz fusion stuff. So that's when Michael Brecker came into play. But those were probably the early inspirations, got the wheels turning.
Okay. And so they impacted your musical philosophy, and they helped you create your own sound. So
it certainly made me it certainly made me practice more.
But I guess because jazz is such an intricate music genre, is it safe for me to say that it's a particular genre where it allows you to take abstract ideas and create from just anywhere? I guess that's myself. I studied jazz, and it, you know, they specifically say that jazz is an improvisation of creativity. Is that safe to say?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I look at it that anything goes, and so it's just it's a way to just kind of explore instrumental performances and, and try to keep it creative and keep songs evolving and performances. And that's what I love about it. It's never ending, really, the exploration.
And it can be organic, and it can just go anywhere that you would like it to go. You can push the envelope. What's your creative process?
Wow. For composing, it's a little weird. I sit down at a computer. I'm very modern, I guess, in that way. I sit down at a computer and I really start programming.
Okay.
I'll program everything's chords. I don't own a MIDI controller, which is my friends make fun of me for, but I'll program the drums, I'll program the bass, I'll program the keys, and then I'll usually sing melodies because I find that if I try to write on my saxophone, my brain, my theoretical brain influences what I'm hearing too much. So I find if I just sing it and basically transcribe my own ideas, it comes out much more organically. And then I'm not focused on key centers. Like I want to play in B flat. It's more like, okay, well, where did I sing this? Or, where was I just hearing this bass line? What key did it come to me in? So that way I end up playing in a lot of different keys. As far as practicing, I do some fundamental stuff, but as far as exploring, it's one of my favorite things to do is if I find myself doing a certain pattern or a certain lick in a certain key, I'll stop myself a lot. And I'll say, wait, hold on. You seem to want to play this a lot. Can you play this in all 12 keys? Okay. How does this translate? Can you get all those inflections and understand theoretically how this is translating in different keys? And so that's a really common sort of development and practice approach, both in composing and improvising.
And was that the process? Well, I guess that's your full process in any project or any song that you're developing. Was that the process for you developing PTSD in 2 volumes? And if so, tell us about your experience in recording these 2 volumes.
Oh, sure. Well, these 2 volumes, PTSD they were a part of my Kimmel Center for the Performing Arts Jazz Composer Residency, and the Kimmel Center in Philadelphia is the main performing arts center in the city. So I was a recipient of a grant, and that allowed me to further explore my work as a composer and performer. And all these songs were actually inspired by electronic music songs from a specific genre called drum, bass, and jungle, which I used to DJ back when I was in college. It was a whole other part of my life. Okay. And I took some songs that I found tracks I found really inspiring from that, and tried to develop full songs around them, the full jazz compositions. So most of the PTSD collections are a collection of material that's stuff that we played for my first 2 records, Previewness and Recognizance, and then it's some of the material that I was developing while a resident at the Kimmel Center, and they're all live performances. For whatever, I'm very thankful, but I decided to record every time we performed. And most of our rehearsals, too, I always recorded, whether it was 1 microphone or if it was 6. I think it was the most I ever topped out at. But I recorded everything. So when at one point I just started reviewing all these recordings I had and started compiling my favorite performances. And I thought, maybe let's see how much material I have here that I would actually want the public to hear, and that I get it, I get something from, and I really enjoy listening back to, and that's where these 2 volumes of music came from.
That is awesome. So it sounds like you wanted PTSD Volume 1 and Volume 2 albums. Were you working towards them to be standalone albums or bodies of work, or do they have connections in between each album?
They're connected because they're from the same era. And what I just found compiling music had, maybe 30-something songs in a playlist, I just kind of put together on iTunes. And I basically narrowed it down. And I was like, I have more than 1 album here. And and my feeling was that they're live performances. We record a lot of stuff in the studio that isn't out yet, some of the material from the Kimmel Center residency. But I wanted to preview some of that stuff, and I felt like if I didn't release this live stuff sooner, it would probably never see the light of day. And a lot of the performances were just really special to me. So, I put it out there.
That is incredible. Tell us about your experience. What was that like? Where were you when you got the word that you were going to receive it?
That is you asked a good question. I'll enjoy answering. When I found out, I was in Paris, actually. I had just started tour. I was in rehearsals with a singer, Melody Gardot.
Wow.
And I was in a bistro, basically, Paris. It was a wine bar in Paris, and I got the email, and I remember I literally slammed my fist down on the bar and was like, yeah! I just startled the place. I was like, man, I was really just that person, but it was just such a natural thing that happened, and so as soon as I got back from tour, basically at the start of 2016, I began work, and it was great. I mean, I did a couple of workshops with them, and we did like a work in progress performance, and of course a final performance, and then I booked a lot of other performances from my band around that period of time, which again is where these recordings came from. But it was great. I mean, for jazz musicians, obviously it's hard, and it's it's not a lucrative avenue, especially in the earliest stages. But having grant funding is great because I can keep musicians' attention. We can get paid for gigs and rehearsals and recording sessions, and it gave me some money to work with, which was incredibly helpful for developing all these compositions and giving myself and others a lot of experience performing as well.
Absolutely. And I know you've toured the world, not only domestically, but internationally. Have you noticed that the international fan base really appreciate this genre more so? I learned, in particular in Japan, that fan base is buying vinyl records. They are selling out shows. Has that been your experience with the international fan base?
Yeah, I would say so. It is. I remember going to a jam session in Berlin and just being amazed that it was absolutely packed in there. For just what would be in Philly would be just sort of a ordinary jam session on any given night, which is probably going to be mostly musicians and a few patrons. But in Berlin, absolutely packed with people the whole time. At Edinburgh, I had that experience, or Glasgow. Japan had a great night in Japan in this place called Electric Ginger, which was kind of like downtown and in this basement. That was a real fun night.
Right.
But yeah, absolutely. In the Middle East as well. The Middle East was like these great crowds.
Okay.
People just want to hear music, So yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
Yeah, and they really appreciate the music form. And with you touring a lot, we named a few acts that you have toured with and performed with, which are some of our favorites and my particular favorites. Tell us about, like The Roots and John Legend and Queen Latifah and Freddie Jackson. What can you tell us about that?
Sure. Well, John, I started with a little over 4 years ago. I had worked with him actually with The Roots once for a couple of things. When he did the record with them, I did Fallon with them, and we played basically the record release party in New York City at Terminal 5 at Spike Lee, live directed on YouTube. It was really cool. That was really fun. But that was via The Roots. I started working actually for John Legend's company in his band. A little over 4 years ago. And we toured the world, and that's been amazing. Just being able to kind of go everywhere. I think the only continent I haven't been to yet that would have a show is Australia. We're not going to Antarctica, I don't think, but
it's so cold out there, man. Oh my gosh! Yeah. But if they have a fan base, I'm pretty sure you can make some kind of appropriation.
I don't mind the cold weather. I'll put a parka on. I'll be fine. But Melody Gardot, I toured Europe with her, and that was great. It was so much fun, and she's amazing. Freddie Jackson, great. I love him. He is so funny. I really enjoyed touring with him. No, around the States. I just played a show with him a few weeks ago, opening up for Patti LaBelle in New Jersey. And that was great, and Patti LaBelle sounded amazing. And Seal was this last summer. That was awesome. that was awesome because, you know, it just almost felt like a sing-along sometimes during his concert. And he to me is different from most other artists I've worked for in that he's a rock star. Like, when you really just look at him, it was cool to see someone that was just like that fearless on stage. Right. And the music was a blast. He did this Standards record where he sang a lot of this sort of Rat Pack type material. And he was incredible. It was really, really fun.
And I can see that for Seal because his music philosophy is so broad. And I think he's been able to cross over different genres from pop, rock. I can see him being able to reach out to other genres and able to connect with other people from other cultures. So yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. Queen Latifah too. She's amazing. She's great, and I'm going to be playing with her in a couple weeks, and that's the first time I've worked with her in quite a while. I think it's been about 6 or 7 years from the last time, and I'm very excited to be reunited with that crew for a show down in D.C.
Oh wow! You made me want to book my ticket and come and watch that show because Queen Latifah's last album, I really enjoyed her jazz album. It was phenomenal. Yeah. She has a regal voice, too. It's distinctive. I really enjoyed that.
Yes.
So let me share something with you. I am a huge Philadelphia Eagles fan. Philadelphia is my favorite city in America to visit. I love going to Begunos in North Philly. I love Ishkabibbles on South Broad Street and Lorenzo's. I mean, it's just a great town. It's artistic. It's creative. I love the people. You moved to Philadelphia in 2004. Why Philadelphia, and what's the jazz scene like? Because I know Stanley Clarke also is from Philadelphia, right? And he's a jazz guitarist. I love him. What drew you to Philadelphia, and what's the scene like there in jazz?
Well, I had visited California, or I'm from the Bay Area, California, and I had visited Philadelphia to go to a wedding, and I was working on cruise ships at the time, and it was a little bit after I was in college, and the wedding was in South Jersey, and so I had an opportunity to go to Philly and New York and Boston, and I honestly just got a really good first impression of the music scene, randomly going to a club in the city that's still around called the Khyber. And met some local musicians, and it was all about a really good first impression. And when I had an opportunity to move on from the cruise ship thing, I just decided to swing for the fences and move to Philly. I didn't want to go home, but I really didn't know I didn't fully understand what I was stepping into. All I was really musically familiar with is the rich jazz history, but beyond that, like for modern music to me, it was really the roots and Jill Scott. And so, you know, I kind of just got my feet wet on the scene and started exploring all the different nights available, and eventually started meeting the people that were doing the kind of work that I wanted to be doing, and that just blossomed. I was very fortunate to then end up working for a lot of these people. But Philly, the jazz scene still is. It's a very it's a great city to develop your craft and cut your teeth a bit. Philadelphia raises a lot of great musicians and continues to raise a lot of incredible musicians that have made names for themselves, on the international jazz scene and in the pop world. And it's a funny thing, like touring with basically pop artists, right? Is that it's like there's always Philly guys in these bands. They always find their way in. It's like New York, LA, and Philly. It just you constantly see it. And of course, there's other cities. I don't want to ignore Atlanta and Houston and some of these other these other markets that raise great musicians. Right. But yeah, Philly has its way of just sticking its foot in all these doors and keeping it there. And it's awesome to see. I'm really proud of all my friends that both in the jazz and pop worlds and everything that get in there and make decent careers for themselves. Absolutely. And this year, you will be performing with the Central City Jazz Festival on Saturday, April 27th.
And I wanted to know, have you been with the festival since its inception in 2012? And how has that experience been for you? Because, like you said, it's a breeding ground for artists and musicians in Philadelphia. And I know would be a great event for people to come out.
Yes. So the Center City Jazz Festival, yes, and this would be its 8th year. And I was around from the beginning, yes. A good friend of mine, Ernest Stewart, is the one who created the festival. Okay. And he really created it on his own. And to this day, pretty much still, it's his festival. And but I remember the multiple, we would always get together and get coffee, go out for drinks if it was later in the night. But, I was there for much of him brainstorming. He used me and some other guys, Tim Warfield, the saxophonist I know, and others in the scene is just sort of, people to talk to bounce ideas off of and help him develop what he was after. And so it was really amazing to see the festival launch for the first time. He did it with a Kickstarter campaign. Wow. And then from there on out, he's, been able to find funding and ticket sales. I mean, it's sold out every single year that it's happened. And it's a really unique festival in that it's in downtown Philly, and it's in venues that are all within walking distance from each other. And they're some of them have music and some of them don't necessarily. But they're all places that are basically small clubs. And so, I think he has 5 places in rotation. Okay. And so it's really fun. You can just bounce from place to place and check out the acts you want. And it's a sort of almost makes it a little bit more interactive in that way. You get to see the insides of these different venues, and they're all like nice restaurants, place to get food, place to get drinks, and enjoy all these different diverse group of acts. And he does a great job of involving a lot of Philadelphia artists, and then always trying to bring some people from outside in.
Absolutely. And what should everybody expect when they come to see you perform if they attend the event?
Oh, sorry?
I said, what should people who attend Center City Jazz Festival expect from your show when you perform in the event?
Yeah, sure. Well, it's it tends to be pretty high energy.
Okay.
It's definitely sort of like a sort of fusion leaning, like it's definitely modern, and like we like playing sort of like funk sort of leaning type stuff, and jazz. It's pretty intricate, and it's fun.
Right.
It feels party, but I don't think of it as too derivative.
Okay.
So, we're not in like a second line New Orleans type thing, or we're not like a straight ahead thing. Right. We're not like a smooth jazz thing. It's none of those things. But it's a great group of sort of phenom musicians, and I really love our sound that we have.
Absolutely.
It's fun, and the songs are hard. I had breakfast with a guitar player today, and we were talking about how we actually got to learn how to play over these changes again. But not hard to the point where it's losing the listener. It's just I don't do a lot of crazy odd meter or insane hits that never end and stuff like that. It's more just trying to find a different way to solo. When you're raised on jazz, you get used to these sort of common chord progressions, like sort of standard, go-to type things. And I in my writing, I try to avoid that a lot. Just because, it's like fun stuff for me to practice on over at the house, when I was at home before they really became public compositions. It's like, I'm going to learn how to improvise over something a little different than what I'm used to, Yeah.
Right. And I could tell that I took a listen to the I Feel single, and it was very melodic. It's a big sound. I can tell that you utilize electronic guitars, and I mean, it's just a real big sound. I like where you went sonically, and I could tell that you like the fusion period when I was listening to it, and I really enjoyed it. You guys may see me in Philadelphia enjoying the show, Korey.
All right, right on.
So we're coming down to the last few minutes of the show. I'd like to ask you this one last question. Sure. For young people or individuals who are looking to expand their career as a musician, you have just a successful career as a musician, as a saxophonist, as a composer. What would you tell that individual? What should they do to obtain a successful career like you? What are some keys?
Wow, that's a great question. It's hard to answer, but I'll do the best I can. I think the number one most important thing you can do is to get experience, get performance experience as much as possible.
Okay.
I started like gigging basically when I was really young. I started around 14, and consistently throughout high school played. And so by the time I got to college, I was already comfortable playing in front of an audience. But just aside from being comfortable in front of people, it's just learning how to play a gig. It's one thing to practice at home, but to get through an hour gig up to like 4 hours of playing on a gig, and having the energy, the mental fortitude, I guess, and you just need experience playing songs and just as one of my friends says, like horn to face, just playing. So, I mean, that's the most important thing. And then as far as, figuring out what direction you want to go, I think, the best thing you can do is just be honest with what direction you want to go. Awesome. and going that way. Not necessarily worrying about current trends. I think once you get into the working world and of jazz, I mean, there's, for saxophonists specifically, and every instrument really, but I mean, there's saxophonists doing every single genre that saxophone plays on successfully. So, if you want to stay in 50s and 60s blue note, they're right on. You can do that. Or if you want to keep it to the New Orleans stuff, like you can just do that. Right. But I tend to like more sort of modern fusion-y type stuff, and so that's where I kind of, that's it. It's just pick a direction or switch it, whatever. There's no rules, but the most important thing would be get experience performing in front of people, and and playing as many groups as possible. You don't have to worry about. I wouldn't worry about money. This is not a money game. Right. It's more about just if people see an honest effort and sort of they see your sort of morale, I guess, with the way you treat music and stuff. They're gonna take interest in you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I appreciate that. I'm glad that you said that, because that's my mantra on this particular show. I like to lead the listening audience with this. Hard work trumps talent. Talent doesn't work hard at all. So you have to work hard. You can have a talent. You can have potential latently. But if you don't work hard at it, you don't even take the necessary steps to assess where you're good at, see you could be effective, then it would just be there. So I'm glad that you highlighted this. And Korey, guess what? We're going to be premiering I Feel on WDJY as well as WTTA Radio.
I'm very happy to hear that.
Yes, sir. And I want to say thank you for coming on the show. You are a new friend of the show, and I may see you in Philly at this festival here. I think it's great for families, and everybody can come out and enjoy. And till then, my friend, we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Well, listening audience, we'll be back. Stick and stay. Enjoy I Feel by the great Korey Riker.
No intro. He's in his bag.
Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back with more The Darius Norman Show.